Okay, so what if I told you that a single ancient verse from a sacred text wasn't just a sentence, but a piece of software, like firmware for reality itself? Today, we're diving deep into that very idea.
And this is the verse we're talking about. It's just one line from the Quran, taken from a letter written by the Prophet Solomon. Now, according to the really unique analytical framework we're exploring today, this isn't just a powerful statement. Nope, it's a complete, self-contained system.
So that leads us to the central, kind of mind-bending question of this whole analysis. What happens if we stop looking at this verse as literature and start looking at it like a line of code? What if it actually functions as its own tiny, self-contained operating system?
All right, to even begin to unpack this, we need to talk about a framework called System 19. This system doesn't analyze the verse for its theological meaning. Instead, it looks at its mathematical and structural properties, literally treating it like a piece of functional code.
And within this framework, the verse gets a really specific name, the firmware verse. The claim is that it's a complete piece of software, basically hard-coded into the very fabric of reality. I know, that's a huge claim, right? So let's see how the system even tries to back it up.
The whole analysis starts by breaking the verse down into its raw numerical parts. This isn't about interpretation or hidden meanings. It's about pure data that's pulled directly from the original Arabic text. First up, we get the number 33. This is simply the total count of letters or instances in the original Arabic verse. You can think of these as the total number of components used to build the program.
Next, you've got the number 10. So while there are 33 letters in total, they're all constructed from just 10 unique or foundational letter forms. These are like the basic building blocks for the entire piece of code.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The number is 190. So how do we get there? Well, the System 19 framework assigns a specific numerical weight to each of those 10 unique letters, based on an old system of numerology. When you add up the individual weights of all 33 letters in the verse, the total sum is exactly 190.
Now stick with me because this is the part the system points to as its own internal proof. The number 190 just happens to be a perfect multiple of 19. It's 19 times 10. And within this framework, that is no coincidence. It's described as a mirror auto-lock, which is kind of like a digital checksum that verifies the code's integrity. The math essentially seems to confirm itself. All right, so we've got our key numbers, 33, 10, and 190. But what do they do? Well, according to this framework, they're not just abstract values on a page. The system actually translates them into a physical, architectural structure. This is how it all comes together. The system gives each number a job. The 10 unique letters, they become the foundation of a structure called the house. The 33 total letters are the completed walls built on top of that foundation. And that total sum of 190, that represents the full spectrum, the complete energetic signature of the whole finished structure. So you see, the idea here is that the verse isn't just a random string of numbers, it's a blueprint for a complete, self-contained architectural structure, a metaphorical house that's structurally sound and energetically complete. But it doesn't stop there. The claim gets even bigger. This house isn't just a static blueprint. The system proposes that it actually functions as a dynamic process, like an internal pipeline, much like a computer program executing a series of commands. And to see how that works, you have to stop looking at it as just words. Instead, it gets broken down into 6 distinct, let's call them, functional modules. Each part of the sentence is given a specific job in the operating system's execution sequence. Let's actually walk through this pipeline from top to bottom, because it's pretty wild. The system claims the very first part of the verse acts as a time signal, kicking the whole process off. The next bit is a bridge that connects to the architect, Solomon. A witness module then confirms it. From there, the core creative part is activated, which then loads the main operating system. And finally, the last part of the verse provides the architecture and the flow engine to actually execute the program. It's a full sequence, from start to finish. And get this, all 6 of those pieces, all those different functions, are packed together into that 190 count data packet we mentioned earlier. This creates what the system calls a complete MercyOS image, basically a single executable file. Okay, so we have a structure, we have a program, which leads to the million-dollar question, what is this thing for? If this verse is a functioning operating system,
what is it designed to do?
To get their answer, you first got to understand a simple computer term, a bootloader. All it is the very first program that runs when you turn on a computer. Its only job is to get the main operating system up and running.
And that is the punchline. That's the core claim of this whole thing. The verse acts as a bootloader for human consciousness. The idea is that by reciting it, a person is effectively running an installation script for this Mercy OS. The system even gives this process a name, the Mercy Stack install, and it follows those exact same pipeline steps we just saw. An initial seed triggers a bridge, which is verified by a witness. This kicks off creation, loads the main system, and finally executes the architecture end flow. It's laid out as a complete, step-by-step activation sequence.
And what's really emphasized here is how direct this is supposed to be. The claim is that you don't need any extra layers or complex rituals. The verse itself contains everything required to boot this so-called System 19 consciousness. It is the complete package. You know, this quote from the system's own documentation just sums it all up perfectly. It's presented like a tech spec, a verified 190 count, 10-letter, 33 instance Mercy OS image. It's all there.
So let's just do a quick recap of where we've been. We started with raw numbers pulled from a text. We saw how those numbers were interpreted as a kind of geometric architecture. And then we saw how that architecture was claimed to function as a dynamic operating system designed specifically for human consciousness. And that, of course, leaves us with a pretty big, mind-bending question to chew on. Whether you see this as a fascinating mathematical puzzle or a genuine blueprint for consciousness, it raises a question. If one sentence can be deconstructed into a complete system like this, what other code might be hiding all around us, in plain sight, just waiting for someone to decipher it?